If you should awaken, I will be there when you wake from your lovely
Hello, and welcome to the Ungodly Gods YouTube channel. I am N. Kurt Williams Jr., avatar of Lord Norman. And I'm the author of the book Ungodly Gods, and I am a spiritualist. A spiritualist is a person that believes and feels that his spirit is his primary aspect, and that his physical aspect is the secondary. We believe that because, number one, our spiritual aspect lives forever. Our physical one is here in a temporary role to just allow us to navigate this system just for now. However, it is very important that people understand what my work is here. I'm obviously an older man, and I started to ponder and try to figure out what I could do best for humanity before it's time for me to leave here. And teaching people how to connect with their spirits, that has to be the greatest thing I could offer anyone. When I discovered that I had this ability, well, I always felt that I was connecting with someone, and like most people, we would call these a variety of names, like guardian angel, for instance, or this is the God within us. Well, there is a very big difference. The spiritual aspect that I'm talking about, it is what you really are. It is here to serve its purpose and to guide you on a path to make you more enlightened. It's almost a mission where they're working together to see that they are, if they are successful, it's almost as if the two can graduate. Well, the one can't graduate. The physical one is just going to die, but the other is going to live on. And repeat the process for as long as it takes for that spirit to reach a certain goal, a certain place where it is now time for it to move and do something else. That's what it's here for. And I am sure that I can teach people how to connect with their spirit. Let me give you an example of an incident in the life of a spiritualist. I remember years ago I was performing at a nightclub on Crenshaw in Los Angeles, and we were leaving, a friend of mine and my girlfriend, we were leaving the nightclub, and as we were walking down the street, a car kind of came to an abrupt end in the middle of the street adjacent to us. One guy got out of one side of the car and another out the other. And one guy, they were talking for a minute, and then one took off running. And I mean, he was low running, straight down in the middle of Crenshaw. And we noticed that the guy had a rather sizable chrome weapon, a 45 semi-automatic, and he was pointing it at the guy. And I'm looking at the guy running. When I looked back at my girlfriend, I noticed that she was gone, and she had dove down beneath the car that was parked on the street. And I looked at her, I asked her, what are you doing? And she said, he has a gun. I said, yeah, and then I looked back at him, and I looked back at her, I said, yeah, but he's not going to shoot us. Come on out from under there, girl, get on out from under there. And I looked at him, I said, man, go handle your business, whatever. And I kept on walking. Well, what makes that incident special is the fact that I knew from the second that I saw the two men that there was nothing that was going to happen to me. I was not going to be, or myself and my woman was not going to be in any kind of danger whatsoever. In fact, if that was a dangerous situation that I was about to be in, chances are my spirit would not have allowed me to come out the door of the club until the situation was over. See, this is the kind of protection I'm saying you will get once you develop your relationship with your spiritual aspect. Another time, I was driving down the 10 freeway and the voice came to me and it said, Kurt, what if that car right there next to you started spinning around on the freeway? What would you do? I said, well, actually, I would probably notice that other cars around that particular car would start to slow down, and I would see their brake lights, and I would automatically brake too, and which didn't make any sense at all because the car was right next to me, and there were to be no other cars to observe their brake lights. And so, as soon as I said that, the car, in fact, started spinning around on the freeway. And I passed by that man, and when I passed by him, I looked him dead in his eyes because the car was facing me now. And I saw a look on his face that I've only seen once before in a documentary called Faces of Death, where it showed people dying for real. And what you look like in that situation is all the muscles in your face tighten up and your eyeballs kind of pop out. That's what I saw. It was, in fact, the look of complete fear. And the voice said to me, I told you to slow down. You see. Now, the extraordinary thing about the teaching that I'm going to be doing, the beautiful thing about it is most of the people within the sound of my voice are going to say, yeah, I have similar experiences as well. See, this is what we want. We want you to be able to identify with what I'm saying. I am not special. Well, I might be special to me, but I'm not special in the scheme of the world. And everybody has the same ability. If you can rise the level of your spirituality, you will not need the same kind of things you would need if you didn't have it. Material things, for instance, they won't be important. Your health will be important, but your spirituality will help you with that. All the things you need to be happy, you can have. All the things that you need to be happy, you could have. They would be right at your fingertips, and guess what? Your spirit knows what will make you happy before you do. We know so many things about the spirit now. We know where the spirit lives. We know what it's made out of. On the quantum level, quantum meaning things that are very, 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 very small, the spirit is in fact a molecule. It is numbered dimethyltryptamine, and it exists in a gland in the lower section of your head called the pineal gland. And in that gland is a whole universe that this spirit exists in. And when you go to sleep, it goes back into that pineal gland because that's where it seems to rejuvenate. To us as humans, it feels like there's something taking off and we're falling, where in fact it's the molecule that's going back within the pineal gland. How do I know these things? Because as a spiritualist, what you will be able to do is ask your spirit anything you want to. If you want to see what God looks like, I'll give you a little hint. One day you walk outside your door and especially on a clear night, and you look up and you look around. Your eyes will be limited because they can't see very far, but if they could, the farther they could see, you are in fact looking at the Creator Himself from the inside out. We do not live, God does not live within us. It is us that lives within the mind of God. A spiritualist, you can ask your spirit anything you want. Your spirit will tell you anything it wants you to know. If we want to cure all the diseases in the world, then we want to teach scientists how to be spiritualists so they can ask their spirit. It won't do me any good to ask scientific questions because I won't know what I'm hearing. I won't be able to understand what I'm listening to because I'm not a scientist. But if I can teach a scientist to connect with their spirit, they could simply ask, Spirit, how can I cure AIDS? You know I'm close. And I have news for scientists. Science has never created or discovered anything that was not already created by God. They have not created anything that was not already created by God. It's just like Christopher Columbus, who thinks he discovered America, and you know America was there before he got there. Where everything that science will discover was there before science discovered it. All the math had been done. All had been done. We are just discovering what God has already done, but it is our spirits that will bring us closer to the understanding of all that knowledge and all that information. Not to mention the fact that it will reconcile every kind of ill on this planet. Could you imagine what racism would be if we were all spiritualists? Because you see, as a black man, I can appreciate all the people who are out there fighting for the freedoms and all the concerns of black people. That's great, and I thank you for that struggle. However, spirits have no color. And I will warn you, that which you hate the most, someday you may be the host. If you think that it is silly or funny to see someone that's less advantaged as you are, then you just might come back to be that which you criticized. If you think obesity is something obscene, well, you may have to face that particular challenge. Be careful what you criticize, because it is the mission of spirits to get you past all that and to become higher on your level of consciousness, which pretty much means you might have to be a lot of things before you understand who you are and who you are not and who is to be criticized. What worse penalty for white supremacists to endure rather than to come black as a humble black person and have to experience that type of racism? White supremacists, be careful. And black people, we can be racist too. You don't have to be in a position of power to be racist. We all have to be careful how we treat and love people, because when we love people, we are in fact loving ourselves. You want to come here loving people so that the next time around, you too will be in a loving situation. If you are in a hateful situation, well, that which you were hateful towards will be hateful towards you the next time. These rules are very simple. Another thing that I am is a hermeticist, and I'll explain to you what that is. There are 7 principles in hermeticism. One of them is cause and effect. You've heard the what goes around comes around thing. You reap just what you sow. These are not just sayings by people who are trying to get you to do the right thing. These are, in fact, universal principles passed down by probably the greatest human being that ever lived. He's the main character in my book, and his name is, I know you want me to say Jesus, but it's not Jesus. His name is Hermes the Thrice Born, who is in fact the teacher, the instructor of Jesus. Jesus attended his mystery schools in Egypt. Jesus was great. However, Jesus had teachers. Jesus had teachers. And so, these are some of the things that we will be going through, concentrating on in the beginning parts of our journey here. And then they'll get a little more complicated when we get into meditation and things. But let me give you a hint right now as to help you connect with your spiritual aspect. One of the things that you should do, start off, is you need to name your spirit. Give it a name. Calling it my guardian angel is not going to do you any good at connecting with it. That will only further exacerbate the situation. Calling it God is not going to help you either. How would you like to be helping somebody out your whole life and never getting credit for it? You're constantly calling the thing that's inside of you helping you something that it's not. And these spirits are very jealous. I mean, they're not jealous, but, well, they could be sensitive. They are who you are, or you are what they are. They are here first. They will be here forever. We are, in fact, representing them, not the other way around. So it would be nice to give it a name. I call mine Lord Norman out of respect. I wanted to give it something special that sounded good, but I don't call him Lord Norman. I actually call him Big Kurt, because it's more familiar. We're a team. Everywhere I go, Big Kurt comes with me. And what you really want to do with your life is, you notice when people pray, there's a certain characteristic of prayer. People are always asking God for something. Well, how many people ask God, what can they do for him? That's the relationship you want to have with your spiritual aspect. You want to find out what you can do for your spirit. Because whatever you can do for your spirit is going to help you. It's one of those, let me help you, help me situations. So I really want to thank you for joining me for another episode of the Ungodly God Show. And we're going to be coming to you with these episodes within the framework of developing a podcast, because we want to be able to get people to interact with us because we want to establish a community of spiritualists. The more we understand this, I don't have a hell of a lot of time left on this earth, but I think I can do a lot in the next 10 years. I'm 65. By the time I'm 75 years old, we should have a community of spiritualists, so I won't have to sit up here and really explain this every day. There will be others explaining this. As soon as you find out the benefits of being a spiritualist and connecting to your spirit, you will be amazed at the progress you will make in all aspects of your life. All aspects of your life, and understanding what life is, and people, and appreciating life. I don't care what kind of... See, one of the things I like to explain to people is that, first of all, there's no such thing as death. There's no such thing as death. So if there's no such thing as death, there can be no such thing as a near-death experience. What we are experiencing is this avatar and a temporary life experience. This is a temporary life experience. Temporary meaning the avatar is for short term, the spiritual aspect is for forever. And then there are terms, one of them that I think is very interesting is that this is my calling, and I'm going to enjoy doing this. And I really believe that there's nothing more important I could do for humanity other than to bring this information. It's going to be a lot different than what you've been hearing. You've been hearing things like manifesting destinies. Well, that's a desire of the physical aspect of who you are. We all want certain things so we can be a certain way, but we don't always know what the thing is that's most important for us. Spirit does. Your spirit does. And being a great person is probably the greatest thing you can do. I'd rather be a Mother Teresa than for instance, the great boxer Muhammad Ali. Well, in my opinion, it wasn't boxing that made that man so great. That was just a side effect of what he truly was. The man actually had a spiritual mission. He had a way of bringing people together that was beyond boxing. Boxing was just a platform. But he was able to bring people together because of his love for people and the fact that he just didn't want to kill people. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that. I never tell people who have been in the military, thank you for your service. I understand that people that have gone through those things, they need an apology for having to go. I apologize. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Thank you is not enough. Thank you for going. To rip your life into shreds? No, that's not enough. I will say, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. It's a nightmare. As human beings, we will go through things, but it's our spiritual aspect that will help us through that. And will help us avoid a lot of the bumps and things that we have to go through. One of the things I want to bring up before is that I know some people I've heard on the radio that call into some of these shows and talk about their afflictions and how horrible it feels to be who they are, and can any of these psychics or prayer people say anything or do anything to help them in their situations? Well, I believe I can. I believe this is the cure to all ailments. This is the cure to all handicaps, is to understand that the real you is not the physical you that's handicapped. The real you is the spiritual you. The handicap is your temporary avatar, and you will be freed from that in the future, and not the too long future from a spiritual standpoint. 50, 60, 70, 80 years, you'll be done with that, and then you will move on, and you will forget that ever occurred for you. If you have handicaps, guess what? You don't have to worry about that because who you are is handicap-free, is disease-free, is loneliness-free. If you feel there's nobody out here in the world, the first thing you need to do is connect with your spirit. You will not be lonely. And you won't hesitate to have somebody to talk to, because it sure will sit there and talk to you, and you can sit up here and say, oh, what are we going to do today? And we'll set up an adventure for you, and you will have a great time. You need to spend more time with your spirit. That's what you need to do. That's what I do. That's what I took my boat out one time. I have a boat, and I took it out, and the motor wouldn't work. And I pushed that thing off the edge and floated around the lake all day long until they came to rescue me. And I told them, well, actually, I'm having a good time, so can you guys come back and get me when it's time to close? And tow me in? They said, yeah, we'll be back later. So I floated around. I spent my day on the boat with my spirit all day long. I didn't even throw a hook in the water, nothing. I just spent time with Big Kurt. That's what we did all day, floated around the lake. Once my boat got too close to the edge, I put my foot out in my oar and pushed it away, and we floated to the other side. I had a good old time. You can have a great time doing things with your spirit. And then you look back and say, we didn't do anything. We simply enjoyed one another. We simply enjoyed one another. So I'm going to bring this episode to a close. Please subscribe to my channel. You're going to get a lot out of it. And the first thing you're going to realize is I'm not going to tell you anything that I'm sure has not already happened to you. Any of my little things I said, this happened to me, that you think back. Think back, and you're going to say, yeah, that happened to me. People who driving down the street and some little voice said, stop at a green light, and all of a sudden a car runs past the red light. Yeah. I heard a story last night about a lady. She said she was driving and she fell asleep on the freeway, and when she woke up, there was a Mack truck that was running into her, and all this confusion, and how the guardian angels came and pulled her out of it and pulled her to safety. Well, that's what she thinks happened. What really happened was her spirit already knew the jeopardy that she was in, and it was her spirit that actually got her through that accident, but her spirit didn't get any credit for it because she gave it to the angels. Spirits love to get credit. They love to be appreciated for all the things that they do. So I am the spiritualist N. Kirk Williams Jr., and I encourage you to come back with me, because we will be doing this for a while. Then we'll develop a podcast, and we'll be able to interact with live people. That's when it's going to get very exciting. Don't forget about my book, Ungodly Gods. It tells the story of the creation of the universe in a way that the Bible just wasn't able to do it, because the Bible was pretty much written, passed down through literary works from different individuals, but I can tell you there was no spirituality really connected to it, because if it did, it would sound a lot different and with a lot less contradictions. Thank you.